Which team faces the most pressure going into 2024? And be honest about this. Don't throw Alabama out there. They're going to have some regression with Nick Saban gone. Don't throw Michigan in the conversation. Yes, they just went undefeated and they won a national title, but they are losing a ton of production and their head coach. And don't throw in Florida. They got a one-way ticket to the Hunger Games with their schedule from hell. In my opinion, the team that faces the most pressure and has to show growth next season are the Clemson Tigers. Let's go ahead and break this down. But if you are new here, welcome on into the channel, people. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me which team do you think faces the most pressure going into next season. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, college football aficionados, Clemson fans, ACC faithful about this channel, because we're on the race to become the #1 YouTube show talking college football daily. And I do mean we talk college football daily. This is your daily dose of college football content you need to survive the dreaded offseason. Follow me on social media, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way, conversations surrounding our favorite sport don't have to be simply just on video form. So, Clemson, can they rebound in 2024? Kind of feels like an oxymoron when you look at their schedule. 9-4 last year, a new offensive coordinator, another quarterback coming on in, no transfers added to the mix, no NIL deals that were being offered. Can they rebound? That's a big question. You know, you look at a guy like Clemson, you look at a coach like Dabo Swinney, and you say, they're fine. They're totally fine. In fact, you could say that they are the standard of college football. I would make that case right now because of what we've known for the last decade plus is Clemson being one of the best teams in the sport. In fact, when you look at what is about to unfold in college football, maybe you are looking at a team like Oregon or Texas or even Ole Miss becoming the new Clemson because of, at the time, you were able to do what Clemson was. Dabo Swinney was able to bring in the right recruits every offseason. He was able to build a culture and a foundation that was sustainable regardless of who was QB1, who was wide receiver 4, who was linebacker 2. You felt comfortable with the system and you trusted his overall coaching staff, whether it be Brent Venables as your defensive coordinator, whether it be Tony Elliott as your OC, whether it be potentially you bring in another name at OC like Chad Morris. You felt content with what was being used in this offense. Well, it only works so long as it does. And right now it's not working. So you can have your own standard set in motion so long as it still is working. Right now it wasn't working. 9-4 was not the end goal for Clemson last year. I had them making it into the college football playoff. I was buying a lot of stock in Cade Klubnik. I thought the addition of Garrett Riley was going to only uptick this offensive personnel in ways that we never saw. Well, I had to eat crow. Most of you had to eat crow. Most of us owed an apology to DJU because it was clear it wasn't just him as the only fault in a 10-win season, I might also add in. So let's not kid ourselves and say it wasn't like DJU did enough last season or in 2022. But now you got to make changes. Plain and simple. Dabo Swinney has gone out this past season and actually tried to embrace the transfer portal. Is that the same level as Lane Kiffin, as Dan Lanning, as Kirby Smart? No, I won't go that far, but it is at least him showing progress. Here's the problem with progress. Imagine you taking an algebra test. Like go back to 9th grade and you were enjoying yourself. You remember going through puberty, that pure hell of a life, and you had algebra. And you showed your work on the test. And the teacher hands you back the test and they say you got the question wrong. And you say, but teacher, I showed all my work. I did everything to get to the problem. Yeah, but the solution wasn't there. So unfortunately, the question was wrong. That's the transfer portal. Yeah, you're going out, you're bringing in kids on visits, you're willing to at least entertain the idea of maybe adding in some players that never viewed Clemson as a legit destination. But if they don't commit there, all you're doing is just showing that you're at least attempting. Attempting doesn't do anything for roster reconstruction, roster progress, roster growth. And the big thing that I look at when it comes to Clemson this year, how does your offense match the defense? Defense last year carried the weight. And you lost over 50% of it. You lost 2 of your leaders as well in guys like Jeremiah Trotter and Nate Wiggins, both of which are going to be studs of the NFL. How do you make those moves to where your offense, which is returning over 60% of its roster, is able to establish itself, is able to prove that they are only building off of last season, that Garrett Riley is the right offensive coordinator? You look at the schedule, they're projected to have 9.5 wins this year. It's plausible. Georgia game, okay, here's the deal. Georgia, just throw it on out. It's a neutral site location, which isn't a neutral site because it literally is in Athens 2.0, Atlanta. It's going to be in front of a very home crowd-esque with the red and black. And Georgia's a team that many people are already considering the favorites to win the national championship. If you play competitive, consider that a win. If you get an upset, consider that the biggest win of the season. If you play like cardboard doo-doo, don't think your season's at an end. You just got to be able to show that there is growth and potential afterwards. Games against Appalachian State, NC State in week 3, that, my friends, is going to be a madhouse performance. I promise you, people who are sleeping on NC State, you got to realize this is a cockroach of college football. They are not going to go away quietly underneath Dave Duran. They are going to survive every atom bomb that you throw at them, and they're going to say, hit me again. They are the ultimate around and find out team. That's really what they are. Then you play against Stanford, Florida State on the road. That's going to be a major matchup in Doak Campbell. Wake Forest, Virginia, Louisville, Virginia Tech on the road. That, my friends, is the trap game of all trap games. I truly believe that Virginia Tech is going to be circling that game on their calendar because they realize this is the one that shows that we are officially back underneath Brent Pry. That's a game I'm monitoring. Then you close out the year with the Citadel, Pitt, and South Carolina. Do you feel confident in those games? Can the offense take a step forward? I know the defense is going to take a step back. Can the offense recoup the losses that were made in that matchup? Because so long as Dabo Swinney finds a way to get to the over-under win total, you can't really argue that he's not doing things his own way. 9-3, not a death sentence anymore in the college football playoff run. I'm not saying the ACC is going to get a 9-3 team in, especially if they have 2 10-2 rosters, but you can't say never, especially about a program like Clemson. How does Cade Klubnik take that next step forward? How do you replace the production lost by Will Shipley? How do you feel about the wide receivers like Antonio Hamilton stepping up next year? How do you feel about the offensive line? How do you feel about the defensive line? How do you feel about the newcomers of this recruiting cycle, which was a top 15 class, which means you're still recruiting at a good level, not elite, but good. How do you feel this all meshes during the offseason, spring football, going into fall camp, to whenever you play against Georgia in week 1, you feel confident? I think a team like Clemson can be 10-2. I really do. I think that it would be far-fetched at this point, knowing what we've seen from Dabo Swinney, who, yes, is still a top 10 coach in college football. Argue with the brick wall if you feel like that he's not. Until proven otherwise, yes, it is true. How is he going to be able to build off of this season? How is he going to be able to mitigate the waters and make sure that 9-4 is no longer the new standard? Because that's never going to be the standard at Clemson. It wasn't the standard when it was Tommy Sweeney. My apologies. It wasn't the standard when it was Tommy Bowden. It wasn't the standard when Dabo first was getting the job. It wasn't the standard now. It never will be the standard in South Carolina. You can't expect that. How do you build off this year? Because I think that Clemson can easily be an 8-4 team. I think they could be an 11-1 team. They could be a college football playoff contender. They could have a bye in the first round. They could end up missing the college football playoff and maybe being 6-6. That's what you look at with Clemson this year. But here's the thing. This is the year. Does the transfer portal and the NIL collective have to come first? And is Dabo willing to embrace it? Is Dabo willing to lay down his morals, his values, his ethics, and be willing to embrace change? Because you see marketing programs all the time do this. Some people are against some of the ads that are being added onto their company, but they end up having to do it if they want to bring in a revenue and a profit that's going to make them sustainable for another year, another fiscal year. Can this fiscal year work without change? That's the bottom line for Dabo Swinney. This is his last chance to be able to say, my way or the highway. Because soon, they're going to kick you out on that highway and you're going to be running to the unemployment line, going full pedal to the metal, either trying to find a job in broadcasting or on another team. And I definitely think that Dabo Swinney could be successful elsewhere, but this is a monumental year for the Clemson Tigers. Comment below, who do you think is facing the most pressure going into 2024? Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, the drunk dude passed out in a Waffle House parking lot, ACC fans, college football aficionados, Clemson faithful about this channel. We talk college football every single day over here. Continue to follow me on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. That way, conversations surrounding our favorite sport never have to stop flowing. And until next time, see you later, folks.